It may surprise or even shock you to hear what I'm about to say, but if you're seeing this video right now, it's no accident. There's a reason why you, a true chosen one, have been led here at this precise moment. This isn't some distant myth or wild fantasy. It's a living truth that's catching up with you. You broke an ancient agreement, something set in motion long before our modern world took shape. And that single act has put you on a trajectory you might never have expected. Deep inside, you've always sensed there was a different path meant for you, a road less traveled that holds secrets and revelations unlike anything you've learned before. Your heart may feel uncertain, maybe even a little anxious, but that's because you're standing right on the threshold of a dramatic shift that only true chosen ones ever experience. If this resonates with you at all, and you want to embrace the journey ahead, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment 77 foot below to show you're open to this transformation that's already taking shape. Chapter 1. The Moment You Awakened. Perhaps it happened on a random weekday afternoon or in the hush of early morning. There was a moment, brief but powerful, when you realized life as you knew it could no longer contain the fullness of who you were becoming. Whether it was a strange coincidence, a vivid dream, or a sudden insight that rocked your sense of normalcy, you knew something was about to change. Looking around, you felt detached from old habits and conventional expectations. A crack had formed in the everyday world you once trusted without question. No one else seemed to notice it, yet for you it became impossible to ignore. You may have tried to dismiss it, telling yourself it was just your imagination or a fleeting moment of overthinking, but a silent force inside you refused to forget. You started to sense you were part of something bigger than your own personal goals and fears. The idea of being a chosen one might have felt dramatic or too large to handle, yet you couldn't shake the feeling that your life was inching closer to a hidden destiny. The ancient agreement you broke wasn't about signing your name in archaic ink. It was about crossing a threshold of awareness. By recognizing your own power, you stepped outside an old pattern that once kept you shackled to limitations. This subtle but potent act created a ripple in energies that had been locked in place for centuries. It's not just symbolic language. There's an undeniable weight behind it. You took a leap into the unknown, effectively dissolving a barrier that once held you back from living in alignment with your purpose. And that shift changed everything. Like dominoes falling in a deliberate chain, events began to unfold around you. People you hadn't heard from in years showed up. Surprising opportunities emerged from unexpected corners. Strangely timed messages or signs followed you like a quiet echo, reminding you that you'd stumbled upon a world where reality is more fluid than you ever dared to believe. This wasn't an accident. It was the first clue that you were never meant to remain in the shadows of an older, outdated contract. Chapter 2. Understanding the Ancient Bind. Centuries ago, humanity fell under a collective agreement, one intended to keep us safe, but gradually morphed into a restrictive pact. You might never have heard it spoken aloud, yet it was woven into language, tradition, and the subtle messages passed down to generations. It told you to stay small, to fear the unknown, and to question your inner call, only through the lens of doubt. For the longest time, you honored disagreements simply by living within the structures handed to you. But once you began to feel that internal pull towards something richer and more meaningful, everything changed. That ancient bind was based on the premise that only a chosen few might ever glimpse the deeper layers of existence, while everyone else would remain chained to surface-level reality. What broke it wasn't some grand rebellious act in the eyes of society. Rather, it was that single spark of self-awareness you embraced when you realized you were different. When you quietly recognized you might be a chosen one, an entire system of hidden beliefs started to crumble. Sometimes the old agreement shows up as doubt, telling, "Who do you think you are to dream so big?" It can mask itself as fear of rejection, causing you to stay silent when you really want to speak your truth. It might even appear as physical symptoms, restlessness, fatigue, a sense that your body is urging you to change something fundamental in your life. All of these forms serve the same purpose, to keep you tied to the status quo and prevent you from challenging the unspoken rule that you must remain ordinary. But you broke away. Maybe you did it by picking up a forgotten piece of knowledge, reading a book, or stumbling across a subtle teaching that confirmed what your soul had been whispering. Maybe it was through heartbreak that shattered your previous identity, or it could have been a restless urge to travel that expanded your worldview beyond the borders of your old life. However it happened, you tore a hole in that contract, and once that tear occurred, there was no turning back. This is why it feels both exhilarating and unsettling. You might find yourself gazing at a horizon you never considered possible before. It's like you've wandered into a new dimension of reality, one where old rules no longer hold you in place. Yes, it can be scary at times, but it's also profoundly liberating. And the more you accept that you've stepped outside this long-standing agreement, the more you realize it was never truly serving your highest potential in the first place. Chapter 3. When reality begins to shift. After you broke the agreement, it was as if the very substance of your world started to transform. The things you once took for granted, a routine job, certain friendships, the way you spent your free time, all began to feel strangely hollow or incomplete. What used to satisfy you no longer feels enough. You sense an ever-growing desire to align your external life with this new internal awakening. But as your inner landscape evolves, reality around you responds in kind. At first, it can seem disorienting. Maybe people around you say you've changed, and they don't always mean it as a compliment. You might encounter unexpected conflicts or challenges that force you to reevaluate what is truly important. It's as though every hidden corner of your life is now being exposed to new light. Suddenly, the neglected parts of your soul demand expression, and the unspoken longings within you insist on being heard. During this period, synchronicities often become more frequent. You'll notice meaningful patterns or coincidences that serve as silent markers on your path, confirming that you're not imagining the shift. A person you randomly meet could say something that matches precisely what you've been reflecting on. A song on the radio might carry a message you needed to hear at that exact moment. These subtle clues, scattered across the tapestry of your daily life, hint that you're threading together a story much larger than you once believed possible. You may also experience fleeting moments of intense clarity, those instances when your thoughts seem to melt into an expanded sense of time and space. In those moments, it feels as if the veil between the visible and invisible worlds grows thinner. It's not just fanciful thinking. In truth, when a chosen one reconnects to their deeper purpose, the universe around them can't help but respond. The field of possibilities opens up, inviting you to step through. Of course, there may be days where you question your sanity or wonder if you should retreat into the familiar safety of your former life. But some inner compass keeps nudging you forward. It reminds you that you've come too far to go back, and the call of your destiny grows louder with each passing sunrise. This is the stage where you either commit more fully to the unfolding path or try in vain to ignore it. Ultimately, the choice is yours to embrace, but the magnitude of what you've stepped into is undeniable. Reality in all its layers is shifting in tandem with the awakening you set into motion. Chapter 4. Encountering Resistance. Breaking an ancient agreement comes with a price, and sometimes that price is resistance, from both the outer world and within yourself. Friends or family may see your transformation and feel threatened or confused. They might try to convince you to stay the same for your own good or criticize the changes you're making. Their words often spring from worry or from a sense of their own limitations. They see you stepping into unknown territory, and it unnerves them because it challenges them to confront areas where they themselves might feel stuck. On a personal level, you may wrestle with guilt or second-guessing. The mind will conjure old narratives like, "I'm not worthy," "I'm not ready," or even "people will judge me." These internal protests are echoes of the agreement you shattered. They resurface in hopes of pulling you back to a place of comfort, urging you to maintain the predictable course, and when you don't, those voices can grow louder, and especially at moments when you feel exhausted or uncertain about the next step. Yet it's crucial to understand that this resistance isn't a sign you're off track. It's proof that you've stepped beyond the usual boundaries. Growth never unfolds without friction. If everything stayed comfortable and easy, it would mean you hadn't truly changed. When you realize this, the resistance becomes less of an enemy and more of a signal, like a beacon guiding you through the turbulence of transition. It's there to remind you how significant your path truly is. In these times, you might find solace in stillness or in journaling the flood of emotions running through you. You could also find reassurance in connecting with others who've gone through similar awakenings. Building relationships with kindred spirits can anchor you in the knowledge that you're not alone in this shift. Sometimes a simple conversation with someone who recognizes your journey can reaffirm why you set out on this path in the first place. Like seeds pushing through layers of dirt to break into the sunlight, you're bound to feel that pressure. But each layer you penetrate reaffirms your commitment to the life you were always meant to lead. Step by step, your actions show that you refuse to stay confined by old contracts and limiting beliefs. While there might be storms along the way, every gust of resistance you face has the potential to fortify your resolve, reminding you that your newfound freedom is worth every moment of discomfort. It's in this forging fire that a deeper resilience is born, a resilience that can carry you across the next threshold. Chapter 5. Discovering a New Language. As you move further along this path, you might notice that you begin to speak differently, both literally and metaphorically. The words you use to describe your experiences become richer and more charged with meaning. Concepts like energy, alignment, and transformation find their way into your daily vocabulary, even if they used to feel odd or too abstract. There's a sense that an ancient language is rising up from within you, unveiling knowledge you never learned from any textbook. Suddenly, simple conversations can take unexpected turns. Where once you might have talked about day-to-day concerns, you now find yourself drawn to deeper topics, the nature of consciousness, the importance of authenticity, and the subtle connections between mind, body, and spirit. You might share a profound moment with a complete stranger at a coffee shop, discussing insights neither of you planned to reveal. This new language flows spontaneously, carrying with it the power to break more barriers and spark revelations in others. But it's not only about words. Your body also begins to express itself differently. You may experience sensations of warmth or tingling in your hands or spine, especially during heightened emotional moments. Some days you wake up feeling a strong intuitive pull, as if part of you already knows the day's direction before your mind catches up. These are small but meaningful signs that you're syncing with deeper currents. It's as if your entire being is learning to communicate with layers of reality that were previously off limits or undiscovered. This process can be thrilling, but it can also be disconcerting when old friends or coworkers fail to grasp what you're going through. You try to explain, but the words you choose might sound cryptic or too mystical for them. At times, you could feel a pang of isolation, as if you're outgrowing certain relationships or places that once felt like home. And that's okay. Transformation naturally creates both arrivals and departures. In many ways, learning this new language is like remembering something you once knew by heart. Fragments of ancient wisdom reveal themselves in dreams, in quiet moments of insight, or through gentle nudges from everyday life. And each time you honor those nudges, you solidify the shift you initiated when you first broke that ancient agreement. You're not reading from a script anymore. You're living a story that's being written in real time, and the words flow from the core of your being into the living, breathing world around you. Chapter 6. Bridging Worlds. At some point on this journey, you realize you're living at the intersection of two realities: the familiar realm you've known all your life, and a newly unveiled dimension rich with possibility. Bills still need paying, emails still beg for responses, children or colleagues still rely on you. Yet something within you slips beyond the edge of ordinary perception. You stand in the grocery line and sense waves of insight rolling in like a quiet tide. You drive the same streets you've always known and notice how the trees blush with the Varic light. Integration, not escape, becomes the goal, allowing the profound change flowering inside you to braid itself through every strand of who you are becoming. At first, bridging these worlds feels like walking a tightrope. One moment, you're juggling deadlines. The next, you're hurled into a revelation about your destiny as a chosen one. Friends glance at you sideways. Are you okay? Because outwardly, you're stirring a pot of soup, while inwardly you're conversing with soul guides about the next leap on your path. On some days, the contrast feels sharp enough to split you in two, and you wonder whether true synthesis is possible. Yet something magical happens when you stop fighting the polarity and approach it like a dance. Gradually, even ordinary tasks take on a luminous quality. Washing dishes becomes a water ceremony, releasing old energies. Writing a report morphs into a spell of clarity that organizes chaos into coherence. Your morning commute turns into a mobile prayer, each traffic light synchronizing perfectly with the rhythm of your breath. The mundane turns mythic. The mythic, in turn, grounds itself inside the mundane, offering stability instead of detachment. Soon you notice that your presence alone shifts a room's vibration. Meetings feel less frantic when you enter. Family disagreements de-escalate with a few words from you. It is an ego, just an effortless resonance, born of simultaneously holding earth and sky in one heartbeat. Quiet service becomes second nature, a spontaneous blessing for the barista, an intuitive question that frees a friend from looping worry, a shared story that opens a colleague to possibility. Without fanfare, you are weaving subtle bridges wherever you go to stabilize both realms. You begin crafting micro-rituals, anchors so small they draw no attention, yet strong enough to keep you balanced. A grounding breath before clicking send, a gratitude pause after finishing a chore, a single candle each evening to honor unseen allies. You journal fleeting epiphanies in the margins of grocery receipts, then tuck them into a bedside drawer like love notes from the universe. Bit by bit, transcendence threads itself into time, proving enlightenment is not an escape hatch, but a fuller inhabiting of life. Inevitably, challenges surface. A coworker mocks your new calm. A relative wonders if you've changed too much. Old habits flare, tempting you to dim your light so others won't feel uncomfortable. In those moments, remember the tightrope has widened into a bridge, precisely because you refuse to abandon either side. Hold steady. Let skepticism be an invitation to embody your principles with even more grace. The bridge strengthens whenever you walk it consciously, no matter who doubts its reality. As weeks unfold, you discover you can guide others across this span. A stranger at the bus stop confides a buried dream, and your listening presence spots their courage. A casual Instagram post about synchronicity draws private messages from people who felt the same glimmer, but lacked language for it. You realize that bridging worlds isn't just personal therapy, it's collective architecture. Every act of integration you model becomes a lighthouse for fellow travelers seeking their own passage between realms. Eventually, the question is no longer how to blend the two worlds, but how large your heart can grow to house them. Can you hold sacred paradox without rushing to resolve it? Can you celebrate radiant oneness while honoring practical limits? Can you stay tender to the complexities of human messiness, even as you channel celestial wisdom? These questions replace the old dilemmas of either or. They invite you into the richer ecology of both in, where daily life and divine communion nourish each other like roots in sky. By now you understand the bridge is alive. Every conversation, every chore, every silent revelation is another plank laid down across the chasm of separation. Walk it, adorn it with laughter, with tears, with songs only your soul remembers. And when someone behind you asks, trembling, if the crossing is safe, smile and extend a hand. Show them the view halfway across, the place where city lights meet starlight, where spiritual insight pulses inside the heartbeat of Monday morning. Remind them gently that the bridge is made stronger every time a courageous soul dares to step onto it, and that together you are paving a path wide enough for the whole world to follow. Chapter 7. Stepping into the Great Unknown. The final realization, and perhaps the most liberating, is that this journey doesn't end with a neat resolution. Once you've broken the ancient agreement, you're on a course that continues to unfold in waves of self-discovery, mystery, and revelation. You've unlocked a portal to deeper truths, and each day offers a fresh layer to explore. You may glimpse your higher purpose in a vivid dream one night, only to receive confirmation of it in a chance encounter the next day. It's an ever-evolving dance between you and the greater forces of life, one that requires openness and trust. Stepping into the great unknown doesn't mean you'll never face fear or uncertainty again. Quite the opposite. The unknown is vast and can sometimes be daunting. Yet now you recognize that the fear itself is an invitation to grow. When you encounter challenges, you won't shrink back automatically. Instead, you'll feel a quiet resolve to see what lies on the other side of those obstacles. This is the mark of a true chosen one, the willingness to move forward despite the trembling of your heart, guided by a sense of purpose that no longer allows you to remain in hiding. As your old life continues to dissolve and your new life sprouts in its place, expect moments of unexpected grace. Insights may flood your consciousness when you least expect them. You might sense a nudge to connect with a stranger who ends up sharing vital wisdom for your next phase. Seemingly impossible opportunities may arise, signaling that the universe is conspiring to support your path. These experiences are not random accidents. They're part of a grand tapestry weaving itself around your willingness to embrace the unknown. Wherever this path leads next, know that you're not alone. Countless others have felt the pull to break free from ancient patterns. Each is unveiling their own version of the story, creating a vast, interlocking network of awakened souls. Together, you're shifting the very foundation on which future generations will stand. In this sense, the agreement you broke wasn't just a solitary act. It was a universal call to evolve, to accept the gifts and responsibilities of awakening. And so, the journey continues. Each step takes you farther from who you once thought you were and closer to the boundless truth of who you truly are. There's no need for a final goodbye or a grand conclusion. The story remains open-ended, because in truth, it's only just begun. Yet as you venture forth, you may notice a quiet but profound transformation in how you navigate both setbacks and triumphs. Moments that would have once felt crushing or overwhelming now appear as intricate messages, urging you to look deeper. A conflict with a loved one might reveal hidden shadows you're finally prepared to face. A sudden stroke of luck might confirm that the universe is actively rearranging circumstances to meet you halfway. Each event, whether painful or joyful, becomes another strand in the web of your awakening. Gradually, you learn to interpret life's synchronicities not as coincidences, but as guidance. You see how meaningful connections arise just in time to illuminate a blind spot or widen your perspective. Old relationships sometimes fade, making space for new alliances that nurture your evolving self. In opening yourself to these shifts, you find that what once seemed chaotic starts revealing an underlying coherence, a pattern woven by grace, urging you ever onward. In time, you may feel called to become a catalyst for others who stand on the precipice of breaking their own ancient agreements. You realize that your journey, singular and intensely personal, is also part of a collective narrative. Whether through gentle counsel, creative expression, or simply embodying the courage to persist, you offer inspiration to those who are beginning to sense a greater truth beyond their familiar confines. In this way, your path becomes a beacon, a proof that stepping into the unknown, while never without challenges, can spark a deeper, more authentic way of being. Ultimately, the essence of this ongoing quest is one of perpetual unfolding. You walk a path that refuses to end, and in doing so, you recognize that arrival was never the point. The milestones, the breakthroughs, the revelations, these all are integral to a lifelong dance with mystery. By honoring that dance, you not only liberate yourself from what once held you captive, but you also contribute to a rising tide of consciousness that is reshaping the world. And with each new dawn, you awaken to the vastness of possibility, reminded that the greatest discoveries are still waiting, just beyond the horizon of the next step you dare to take.